Elias was an ordinary man, those that the world easily reaches, but who carry within them a silent force. He worked from an early age. Every day, knew well the smell of wet earth, the weight of the tools used, and the simple beauty of dawn. Had a predictable routine, almost always the same, but there was comfort in it. He believed that if he did his part, with honesty, life would also make hers. But life doesn't always follow what we expect, and in a matter of days, everything started to change. First came small signs, almost imperceptible. One restlessness in the chest, one strange feeling that something was leaving the place. Then came sleepless nights, heavy thoughts, and that constant impression that something bad was coming, even though he couldn't explain what. Elias was trying to continue his routine, tried to keep a smile on his face, tried to tell himself that it was just tiredness, that everything would pass, but deep down, he felt that something inside him was weakening, as if the soul was being drained. Drop by drop, this is where your story begins, and maybe, just maybe, be it here that yours is also found. Because sometimes just one event to turn our life upside down, just one word, a loss, unexpected news. Just a moment so that all that seemed firm starts swinging. You are about to follow Elijah's journey. A falling journey of sore throat, of questions, no response, but also a journey of reunion, of love, of rebirth and miracles that cannot be explained. Only if they live, and I want you to stay until the end. Because this isn't just one man's story. It's a that can play a piece of your own journey. And who knows, in the middle of this narrative, God speaks something straight to your heart. Elias woke up believing that would just be another ordinary day. The same simple coffee, the same oxygen inside the house, the same steps to work. But something was different. An invisible weight walked beside him. He tried to ignore, tried to pretend it was just tiredness, but deep down, Elias knew something was about to change, and it wasn't for the better. As I worked, their thoughts scrambled. Memories, concerns, overdue accounts, the fear of not being able to continue. Everything seemed than ever. It was like the world was slipping from his hand, and Elijah didn't know how to stop. The sky started to darken earlier than normal. Heavy clouds formed quickly, almost as an answer to what Elias felt inside. He stopped, went deep, and realized it wasn't just a storm in the sky. The real storm was forming inside it. That kind of storm that nobody sees, more than destroys inside, silently. And Elias felt his chest squeeze. A mixture of fear, Solomon, and surrounded him in a way that he had never felt it before. 2, he couldn't explain. I just knew something was broken. 3, when he finally came home, the mirror looked funny. Elias tried to get busy, tried to distract himself, but nothing advanced. It was as if all the weight of his life had decided to fall on him. On that only day. Then the forces are over. Elias knelt. Without one clear reason, without one notice. Only billions of cigarettes, as if your body said what his boca couldn't do. I can't take it anymore. He didn't cry loudly. It was that kind of silent cry. Deep, that fertilizes the soul. For the first time, Elijah felt something really broke inside him. The night has come, cold and heavy. Elias sat outside, looking at the dark sky, trying to understand everything I was feeling. There was no one around. No one to listen, no one to ask if he was okay. And in that absolute silence, Elias asked a question I've never asked before. Because God, because I, but no answer came. Just the wind passing slowly, as if I felt sorry for him. At that moment, Elias believed he was pregnant alone. But little did he know that this same dark night, it would be the beginning of the most unexpected turn of his life. Elias remained kneeling for long minutes, maybe hours. He himself lost track of time. The brightness seemed to increase, filling every corner of the house, every corner of his heart. Some people think that the worst time of life is when all lays around. More for Elias, the worst moment was when he realized he was ling. Inside, there was no one to hear your pain. No hugs, no word, no presence that could alleviate what he felt. He breathed deep, trying to hold on. But the more he tried, weaker got. The truth is that Elias wasn't just sad. It was broken. Just close your eyes for a moment, for a wave of memories to hit. Remembered when he was still a child, running through the fields with hope in their eyes, in how I believed the future would be promising. Remembered your mistakes, of the decisions I would like to undo, of the opportunities you missed, of the dreams he let die. Com o tempo, every memory floats like a little stone. It together formed an avalanche that was difficult to withstand. Elias felt his heart squeeze. It was like reliving all failures at once. He didn't cry just for what he lived today, cried for what was, so it ceased to be, and for what I feared I would never manage to be. Elias got up, walked slowly to the door of the house. Left and right there, in the middle of the night, your legs failed again. He fell to the ground, supporting each other with difficulty. The world seemed too heavy. For the first time in a long time, he said out loud, "I can't anymore." It wasn't a scream, it was almost a whisper, but carried all the pain of a lifetime. Elias was at the bottom, from the well, the deepest I had ever been. But paradoxically, it's exactly in this place, where nobody wants to go, that we often find what we really need. Only Elias still didn't know that. Almost without strength, almost voiceless, Elijah looked up at the sky closed by clouds and said the most sincere phrase of his whole life. "God, if you exist, shows me. If you still look for me, help me, God." That wasn't one beautiful prayer. Had no perfect words. Had no strength. Had no theology. It was just one desperate order. One cry of the soul. And sometimes, that's exactly what touches the heavens. After talking, Elias bowed his head and cried like she hadn't cried in years. He believed he was alone that dawn. But for the first time, God heard him, and everything was about to change. After shedding all his strength in the cry he made, Elias stood there motionless. The dawn progressed slowly, but to him time seemed frozen. Nothing made sense. Nothing responded. Nothing happened. The feeling was strange, as if the world were suspended by an invisible thread. He felt the wind touch his face, but even that seemed distant, weak, as if it were happening to someone else. It was so deep it couldn't be put into words. Elijah didn't know if God had heard him. But he knew one thing. That night would be remembered for the rest of my life. As the cold intensified, Elias began to notice a strange emptiness in your chest. It wasn't just magic. It was as if someone had ripped off everything he was inside, leaving a dark space, silent. Same pharma, many people go through this and don't know how to explain. Is that feeling of being present, but not be, of breathing, but not living. Elias felt his thoughts getting mixed up. Se dissolvendo. It was as if he had lost control of everything, of life, of the future, of himself. And in this place where nothing makes sense, something extraordinary, I was about to be born. But for now, he only saw the emptiness. The silence of that dawn was so strong that sounded almost like a voice that didn't say words, but communicated something deep. Elias closed his eyes, trying to understand that weird angle. One water that somehow seemed to observe. It wasn't one direct response from heaven. It wasn't one sudden miracle. It was just invisible presence, soft, inexplicable. Elias didn't notice, but at that moment, God was already there, only he didn't come screaming, not even making noise. He arrived at the train, and sometimes is exactly where God speaks the most. The wind changed. It was no longer a cold and distant wind. Now he felt hot, inexplicably comforting light. Elias opened his eyes slowly. Without understanding, the clouds in the sky only moved one little, revealing one small beam of light, so that any person would think it was a coincidence. More for Elias, that was not common, was the first answer. A sign so subtle that only those on their knees understand. He didn't know, but that little light was the beginning of the greatest reunion of his life. Elias continued to sit, trying to understand that little beam of light in the sky was so delicate, but at the same time looked like looking at him. The air changed again. It wasn't cold anymore. It was as if someone had touched the dawn and transformed the environment around. Elias put his hand on his chest, felt your heart beating calmer. For the first time that night, he couldn't explain, because I only knew that something was coming. One gentle wind passed through your back, like one hug you can't see, but feels. Elijah looked around, looking for where that wind came from, but found nothing. But still, that invisible touch did feel something he had long forgotten. Peace. A shy little peace. More real peace. Elias shone deep and closed his eyes again. And at that very moment, something started to happen. He didn't see lights, saw no angels, did not see celestial figures. What he was going to feel was something much simpler, and at the same time, much deeper. He felt a presence. One presence that didn't weigh. It didn't scare, did not require. Elias didn't dare open his eyes. He just let the tears fall. Because for the first time in a long time, he was no longer alone. It was as if someone was sitting at his side, silently, kindly. Then amidst the deepest silence of the night, Elijah heard. It wasn't a loud voice. It wasn't a human voice. It was one soft voice, almost like one whisper inside the soul. One voice that did not speak to the ear, but to the heart. And she just said, "I'm here." Elias opened his eyes, scared, confused, excited. That simple sentence broke all the darkness inside him. Because it wasn't just an answer, was the certainty that, even at the deepest point of pain, God had never left. Elias stood still for a few seconds after hearing that soft voice. The world had not changed, but something inside him had turned deeply. For the first time in a long time, he felt the weight on his shoulders decrease, as if invisible hands had removed a part of the charge that crushed him. He shone deep, and that breath, as common, so simple, looked like a victory. His heart was lighter, his mind was calmer, and without realizing, Elias wiped out his own tears and looked up at the sky with a different look. The pain still existed, the problems were still real, but there was a new force within him, small, more alive. The voice he heard didn't erase everything in an instant, but lit a flame that he thought he would never feel again.